In the stillness of the light, I am come. I am the Buddha within your heart. I am the fulfilling of the word of light. Night has an inner stillness, and the point of meditation, my beloved, is always upon the soundless sound and the inner stream as the moving stream of a wind or a water passing through self. Thus we follow the coursing of star fire and of the trackings of the light of Sanat Kumara. The psalmist has said, though I make my bed in hell, thou art there, thou art with me. Well, blessed hearts, there are those who take fiendish delight in polluting the airways and the sound waves with their impudent rock that is not the rocking of the cradle of the Christ child by the mother. But we need not dwell where this consciousness is, for we enter, as I will tell, the farthest years of beauty and purity. We are the living witness of the flame. We approach in this hour, celebrated as an hour of the turning of worlds and of cycles. We come in this hour, my beloved, to receive the chaliced heart of Sanat Kumara. Let us go deeply within, for we do not dwell in a world of sin, but in a world of light that is nevertheless congruent with this world of sin. We must be careful then that our footsteps do not poke through the etheric ceiling and descend to lower vibrations. We must take care that if we are of the light, which means we are of the etheric octave as origin and purpose, we will retain that awareness. We will dwell in it, and we will look as through a sphere of light into the world of sin, yet its sights and sounds will not be entered by us as though we believed that they were real. Some, by their fancying, by their fascination, cease to tread lightly and therefore step through the natural barrier of the etheric plane into astral vibrations and the lower order of things. This occurs in varying degrees and degrees based on the free will, increment by increment, of each living soul. Therefore perceive, blessed hearts, that to you some of the calamities that occur upon earth are hardly real, while to others there is a great wallowing in death and mourning and human sympathy and the horrors that are daily parading across the newspapers. Some find greater reality in unreality than they do in God, even though they may be a part of some organized religion. You can understand when taking stock of your very own self just how much you are integrated with etheric octaves by, first of all, determining just how real is the ascended master octave, the person of your favorite master, of angels and elementals, and two, just how real is all that is actually unreal. Proportionate then to your awareness and to your sustaining of either morbidity or self-transcendent joy, you may consider where it is that you truly live. I would hasten you then to the awareness that if you will it so, for the remainder of this very physical incarnation in which you are all commonly engaged, you may dwell in etheric realms of thought and feeling and experience. This is not only speculation on my part, it is dispensation, for I expand my aura and its vibratory frequency in the etheric plane to your own in this hour. My aura is a magnet to magnetize your own four lower bodies to a peak of performance a pitch, if you will, that is etheric. But in this process, you must will it so. You must contain the electrode of Omega. You yourself must provide that polarity which will cause you, as it were, to adhere to my own auric emanation. Sometimes you will think that it is like clinging to ice, and other times you will feel the most natural bundling of yourself by the gentlest and warmest downy quilt. The etheric octave is, after all, native to your soul. And this world and the heaviness of the body and the burdens of the flesh are not a part of the etheric memory of your life at inner levels. Thus, my beloved, this is a compensating or complementary dispensation to that of Elohim. For while all of this turning of worlds is ongoing, I would provide solace and respite. While you are apart and in the very crossfire of the battle of Armageddon, I would be with you. I would hold you in the embrace of etheric spheres, even the spheres released and yet to be released by Elohim. There is a point of endurance. It is in the inner silence. It is in the closing out of all of the conditions of turmoil of the outer world. It is the finding of the point of light in the heart. I am most grateful to be in your presence this New Year's Day. For the hour has passed, and many upon earth celebrate a new year. It is all a part of the outer cacophony and experience that is somewhat of a wonder to those who have the deeper life of the inner community. Dear hearts liberated, we have often pondered how meaningless it is to celebrate a new year and a new dispensation if one has not made full use of the old, nor contemplates the turning of worlds in the new. What can the mere passing of a day bring if the soul is not prepared? But I will tell you why those who are not committed to life eternal do make merry. It is because out of winter solstice a new light appears, and therefore they will have new energy to go on, to dream their dreams, however imperfect, to plan their plans, to engage in reverie, in pleasure-seeking, or the success cult. My blessed hearts, we celebrate that which has meaning to us and others. Celebrate that which has meaning to them, however meaningless it may seem. Sometimes I express my gratitude to God that for one reason or another, however meager, life in a state of evolution upon earth can find hope, even when hope, as their wagon, is not fastened to the stars, but rather to almost paltry gains by heaven's standards. But at least there is hope, and therefore effort, and therefore an exercise of the flame of life. And it is our hope that in the course of some semblance of striving, souls who do have light in the heart will respond when you yourselves appear to lead them farther on the way. This is a very new experience for our messenger, whom I have counseled to go within without sound or outer hearing, to experience a certain level of my own heart that is for the clearing of her heart. Therefore, with the outer ear, she does not hear the voice that speaks or the sound that is made in her own temple, but pronounces the words and hears the thoughts, and thus does not retain the outer awareness of that which you yourselves are hearing. It is an exercise of the yogis to cut off the outer sound. You would do well to do the same on occasion, for there is a sense of the separation of worlds when no sound is heard, even of one's own sound. This it is necessary to do to relieve the body of the heavy burden of world karma. As you have been turned in your attention to the study of prayer and meditation by Jesus and Kuthumi, I would mention it again, for many of you keep long hours in giving the dynamic decrees whose energies we require. And thus, sometimes you feel almost weary and need a complete change of consciousness, thought awareness, and entering in to new planes of your own causal body of light. I, Gautama Buddha, place my own electronic presence here, that throughout the dictations of Elohim, I might assist in anchoring within your world the spheres of your own causal body, as these correspond to the causal body of Elohim. Thus Hercules and Amazonia in their coming have released the blue sphere, and you yourself are experiencing in your finer bodies the great blue sphere of your causal body, the protective sphere, the sphere of God's will and blueprint. The fineness of this sphere is experienced in going within. Therefore, I counsel you, once in 24 hours, leave the cares of this world, its vibrations, its conversations, its interactions, leave by way of acceleration to the heart. A most opportune moment is before retiring or at the hour of dawn. This exercise in itself has been a saving grace for both messengers. It is a divine interchange. It is a moment when your own etheric body and consciousness saturates the lower vehicles with the sacred fire. And when the chakras send forth their balancing action to relieve tension and stress and strain. The sweetness of the abode of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas can be yours, my beloved. You are intended to be there with us. One thing that will help is for you to play our dictations of previous New Year's Eve. For there you will find the thread of light and contact of my own being with that of Sanat Kumara in his release of the thought form for the year. In the inner planes, there is happiness, the hearing of the music of the spheres. There is the sounding of the note of the victory of worlds. There is the note of each one's causal body. There is the respite that some upon earth long for, as they, in fact, look forward to their own transition. This meditation of which I speak is for the inner self-transcendence, for the mounting of the spiral of being, for the experiencing of the cosmic self. Did you not know that you have a cosmic self and that you are a cosmic being? That which you experience in consciousness here below is such a small portion of yourself. But oh, how easy it is to become enthralled with that self and to think that it consists of the beginning and the ending of all existence. You have and you are beautiful selves. And therefore, I would enter your world to take you by the hand, to move from the surface of your sphere of life to what are in truth inner planes. Moving from the Mount of Hercules, you can anticipate the great sphere of Cyclopea. I would suggest that you concentrate in giving the dynamic decrees to the Elohim of God For it is the mystery of your own cosmic being that I would have you pursue scientifically and with the greatest Buddhic concentration. You see, in the great pause, how full is the experience of the inner octaves, how there is no need for words for the conveyance of this great light emanation. You hear the sounding of the inner thunder as it rolls through the being of the messenger. The thunder is where one sphere merges into the next. It is the sound of movement, of the turning of worlds, one within the other. The sound of the rushing of the mighty waters of life so fills the being in meditation that all other sound is eclipsed. Blessed hearts, all worlds are formed of sound, consist of sound, and the meshing of sounds provides the stairway to and through the stars. I would hold you in my arms of light. I would absorb from you the shocks of life. I would convey myself with all love, that you might experience the contrast and therefore be equipped for the greatest battle in the history of the world. I do not speak lightly or idly, yet I cannot and must not reveal all that is to come, but only caution you in the preparedness of the spirit and the soul and the mind and the heart, and above all, in the physical body. We have pointed the way. The messenger has always followed. And obviously you who are here have followed her star to this point. May you follow it all the way home. May you know the meaning of home and of the ascension flame. May you know my voice by my vibration. Light of eternal worlds, come forth. I welcome you, legions of Sanat Kumara, retinue of light. I stretch forth my hand to receive from the hand of the Lord Sanat Kumara the beautiful New Year's scroll. I open it in the heart of the Royal Teton Retreat. And now there appears before me the thought form for the year 1982. It is the white dove of the Holy Spirit, two doves holding a scroll itself. It is entitled A Proclamation of Freedom by the World Mother. It is written by the hand of beloved Omega. It is a divine document that proclaims for individuals and peoples, karmic groups upon earth, light bearers, embodied angels, each and every one a statement of freedom. It is the enunciation of freedom. This thought form of the scroll held by two doves is delivered individually to the heart of every light bearer on earth. There are even proclamations for those who have fallen from grace, who yet are given opportunity to return to that level of grace by accepting and implementing the proclamation of freedom that affects their individual life streams. This scroll contains an outline of the final opportunity for freedom and the freedom ultimately to be God to every life stream upon earth yet counted under this dispensation by beloved Alpha and Omega. One can see that many months by Earth's time have been necessary for the writing of the proclamation. It is the stretching forth of the hand of the Mother Guru, Omega, that no stone be left unturned. in order that every last life stream might know the meaning of freedom. What is accorded by cosmic law to his life stream, and the knowledge of its implementation as well. All of the writing is in script and in gold. One can see how the heart of the messenger, inclined to the heart of Omega, has captured some elements of this proclamation and this thought form in the one that she has delivered on Christmas Day. There are many more freedoms to be proclaimed and grievances to be stated. This Omega herself has done. The cosmic virgin has beheld the travail of her sons over eons in time and space, to draw back to the heart of the Father the recalcitrant, decadent ones, the stubborn and the proud, the willful and the estranged. This proclamation is made in honor of the truly Herculean efforts that have been made by world teachers, shepherds, and avatars, inasmuch as they have spent their life embodiment after embodiment to draw the light bearers home. Omega has honored their unrewarded endeavor by this reward, which I can tell you on behalf of all of us who have served, is the greatest reward which we could receive: a proclamation of freedom, that we might know in our hearts throughout all eternity that not only our own efforts, but that of the Cosmic Virgin herself were not spared, and that truly every life stream received the ultimate opportunity to choose to live in and as God forevermore. Blessed ones, the Lord Sanat Kumara tells me that this very thought form of the scroll with the two doves bearing it in their beaks is part of the ancient memory of every soul gone forth from the great throne room of Alpha and Omega, for Omega's parting words to those who went forth were a reminder that in the final hour of opportunity, when no more chances might be taken to go in a way perverse, should come, that in that hour two doves would appear. Two doves would appear with the scroll, a proclamation of freedom. For you see, one of the greatest mistakes of the recalcitrant ones is to always think that Mother will give them one more chance, one more round, one more opportunity. And of course, all good things must come to an end, even the playground of the matter spheres. And the school bell rings, and the teacher mother must call her children home from the playgrounds of the universes of life, thus that they might truly know that the bell will not sound again. Each was to receive and does in this hour receive that personal scroll of a proclamation of freedom specifically applicable to his own life stream. Let us dream the dream of God for all life. Let us understand the love of Omega for Alpha and of Alpha for Omega. And in the divine parents represented here in Elohim, know that each dove bears in its heart the kiss of Father, the kiss of Mother. And that is the transmission and the greeting when the doves descend to each heart. I tell you, blessed ones, as these scrolls are being delivered by millions of doves of the Spirit upon earth in this moment, there are hearts leaping for joy, such immense and untold joy. And there are others who are sorely ashamed, and some who are rebellious, and some who will not even receive the scroll, as though by not receiving it they could consider that somehow it was never delivered, and therefore its law does not apply to them. The folly of the backwards consciousness. Alas, there are some already so depraved by their murderous acts that they are no more impressed by the doves of the Spirit or the thought form of the year than they are impressed by the murders which they commit with their own hands. Where life is insensate, life does not exist. Those who are insensitive to life are the most dangerous of all creatures upon earth. Shun them, beware of them, for they are always the instruments of death. Many are among the generation of youth. Many are teenagers who commit the grossest of crimes in this very city and nation. pray that angels of light will displace these dark figures in the state of their own dissolution, and that while there are yet bodies, there may also be angels who guard against the penetration of those bodies by the darkest of spirits and astral momentums. I pray that you will consider, as you go into deep meditation, the taking of your own pen and the writing of your own proclamation of freedom from every binding habit, and from all banal influences to which you have allowed yourself to be subjected. Write the story that you perceive, the glory of the woman should proclaim for you in this hour of the celebration of your natal day in heaven. We celebrate the ascension of our messenger Godfrey, and we seal you in the ongoing light of all witnesses who have ever served our cause. In the name of Sanat Kumara, be healed of thy ignorance.
Central sun, our soul's desire, man of love here to defend. Elohim of sacred fire, 7 hearts and 7 hearts again. Blessed 7 spirits of old, now come to earth from realms on high. Make the souls of light now bold, God victory their battle cry. There was be heard 7 thunders of the word for the turning of the world and the golden age unfurled. O Elohim, to our strong eye, come bless our earth, the sea and sky. Awake the world from its full night. Help us ascend by God's great light. O morning stars that sang together, bring to earth God's greatest treasure, purest love without alloy. O sons of God, now shout for joy. Elohim, Elohim, Elohim. Down to earth in fire descending, lo the Elohim we hail. Grace of God to all supplying, where the human senses fail. Planets in their stations standing, angel dancing all their work. See the light of earth expanding, as to Christ it gives rebirth. Let their voice be heard, 7 thunders of the word, for the turning of the world and the golden age unfurled. O Elohim, to our strong eye, come bless our earth, the sea and sky. Awake the world from its long night. Help us ascend by God's great light. O morning stars that sang together, bring to earth God's greatest treasure, purest love without alloy. O sons of God, now shout for joy. Elohim, Elohim, Elohim. Let their voice be heard, 7 thunders of the word, for the turning of the world and the golden age unfurled. For the hour of fulfillment is come, when the world may hear the sound of
Let the Elohim of God appear, for we have attended Earth's evolutions from the beginning. As we manifest the mind of God, so our penetration of the minutest details of human life on earth would be painful to your eyes. Our awareness of the world pain experienced in the body of God is excruciating, but for the wall of light and the violet flame that we also employ, that we might experience and yet not become totally identified with the suffering of humanity at the hands of the arch deceivers. Perhaps you and many also would rather not look upon that which is so unpleasant as that which you have seen. But, beloved hearts, it is because the people of light have refused to look, and the conspirators side by side with them have also refused to look for their own private but obvious reasons, that the hell that exists on earth is perpetuated. You look upon helpless victims who have no one to look to for their defense, save perhaps an American doctor or another from a Western nation or another. There is no Supreme Court. There is no United Nations. There is no government of the land. There are no personal people manifesting the deliverance of the angels of God unto these who suffer under such utter calamity in the torture chambers of the world today. These Nephilim torture chambers are developed upon anyone who might be that guinea pig in the process of overtaking the nations of the earth. So deadly are the ways of the denizens of hell that the citizens of earth have not come to grips with this most pressing problem. It is one of many, but we are determined to focalize so that you will understand that as God, as Elohim, focalizes on these problems, so you as Chelas of the living word cannot neglect your own efforts at the physical octave, so long as in so doing you do not neglect the dynamic decree as the needed and necessary missing ingredient in the battle of Armageddon. Today there are agencies and people in the United States and the West who may freely move and associate and form groups in defense of this or that cause. Some prefer to champion the rights of animals. We prefer that our Chelas should champion human rights, so that in the establishment of the essential human dignity of the race, you may move onward to champion divine rights. Picture yourself in this moment in the midst of a Laotian jungle, or in Afghanistan, or with the people of Yemen. Would you speak to them of divine rights, or would you understand that the meeting of the needs of the human body are paramount? Let not distance separate you from a realistic assessment of the needs of the hour. People are in physical pain because of other physical people delivering upon them physical chemicals, destroying their bodies, and therefore the opportunity for their souls to evolve. We bring this to your attention because it is very obvious to us from all of the misuse of the sacred fire of the Mother that we have witnessed on this planet and other planets by the Nephilim, that it is only a question of time and space when you will no longer be free to organize, to spread abroad a message, and to move against the hordes of darkness. We would not find you in the position of the Afghans or the people of Asia or the Middle East, where you no longer have moving with you the strong and the organization of a military complex and a government. We would not want to see you marooned somewhere or even at the inner retreat to become the victims of this type of warfare, whether waged in a stage of anarchy by fellow citizens of this country, or whether brought from abroad by terrorists of any nation. When once the chemical formula for chemical warfare is known, it can be shared by any and used by any group. You can well understand the determination of El Moria that economic sanctions must be waged against the Soviet Union and all who are a part of the dragon of world communism. You must realize that while you have life and the energy of the dynamic decree, Elohim command that there be organization and a movement and the spreading abroad of the message, so that millions of people who recognize this state of injustice may do something about it before it is too late for the entire human race. After all, would you have us speak to you of the danger of tomorrow? Of this we have spoken 20 years ago, and you are prepared. We speak of the dangers of the remainder of the century, and those which will confront your own children and their children. We speak of dangers that require movement, planning, concern, organization, while there is time, while there is time. To what avail shall we build a civilization anew, or form a community of the Holy Spirit, or speak of the etheric octave or the path of the ascension, when there is no checkmate against these fallen ones? It is to discuss these questions that we have come. You have seen an expose based upon a firm stand that has not been seen in the United States until recent years, when with the force of your own dynamic decrees and the stumping message of the messenger, there has come to pass a willingness and a courage on the part of the people of America to challenge the weakness in their government, the laxity and the failure to take seriously this devastation of human life and that which is yet occurring in other forms. You must realize that it is the release of light and of the dictations of the ascended masters and the presence of the guardian angels that there has been this much of an elevation of consciousness in this nation. All of you who are a part of the Western nations of the world, where there is a neglect of confrontation and an absence of willingness to recognize the enemy of the Soviet Union as participating in Poland and other nations of the earth, you also have the right to expose. You have the right to bring to the attention of your leaders in a most calculated and astute manner that which must have the support of the nation and its citizens. Beloved hearts, many movements that are for the right cause on earth in this hour are on the verge of victory, but they lacked the final thrust and the intensity of the light. Here you can see what perhaps you thought was an obvious exposure of chemical warfare being debated by intellectuals and scientists, that there is an absence of enough proof to take action. Beloved hearts, surely you must realize that those who cannot see and will not see this horrendous attack on human life must themselves be a part of the conspiracy, be a part of that darkness whereby they are so brainwashed that they are unwilling to respond to the eyes that plead for help when no help cometh. You must realize that in all of these nations, ultimately, when the people are under this immense burden, they think of the United States. Their hearts identify with their brothers and sisters, with the Savior nation. They look upon this nation as you would look upon the Lord Jesus Christ. Can you imagine how these people of God must pass from the screen of life feeling neglected, despondent, that there has been no intercession, no deliverance by the armies of heaven or the angels of earth? When hopelessness covers the earth, then none will mount to address the adversary. Somehow insulated in this nation by a wall that keeps its people separate from the realities of the world, there must be a breakthrough. Somehow there must be a shattering of that which separates your awareness on a day-to-day and an hourly basis of such colossal human suffering that you cannot rest until you have done your part in each and every day to make this planetary body a safe habitation that souls might live, breathe the air of freedom, and not have the very elements contaminated before they can fight a good fight against an enemy. There ought to be some honesty and some fair play. There ought to be a moment when even tyrants recognize the superior sacrifices made by a people and therefore accord to them their freedom. Ah, but it is not so. These fallen ones will not stop. And in actuality, they take pleasure in the gruesome death of their victims. Blessed hearts, you would think you had been taken on a journey to hell to witness war as it is waged in these hours. You would think you are somewhere else. It is almost an experience of disorientation with life to actually believe that you inhabit a sphere where such events take place. And for the children of the world to have to know at such an early age, whether by direct encounter or by seeing these revelations, that life is not so sweet as it was originally intended, that people should grow up with fear and concern for the future and dismay as to what their lives can bring. All of these factors are present. Hope is a quality of illumination. Therefore we stand with the intense brightness of the Buddha and the cosmic Christ. We stand with the intensity of the light of Helios and Vesta, the dazzling, brilliant sun of your own Christ self, that you might have illumination, that the world might have illumination, that the world together might take action in this declaration of international interdependence of the people of God. We are very serious about the implementation of this document. And we are most concerned that there not be wasted effort or fruitless effort, but that all recognize the very great importance of securing the inner retreat at the same time that the physical warfare is being waged. Through the past 2 decades, we have observed the fallen ones themselves take a stand for human rights when it suited them. But when the rights of the children of the light are at stake, they are nowhere to be found or to be heard. And the children of the light do not imitate their tactics of agitation. They do not appear in the streets. They do not make themselves obnoxious as the fallen ones have. And therefore they do not draw attention when that attention is so necessary. We applaud the efforts of those individuals who have gone after this testimony, and we call forth the judgment upon those in government who will not see, and therefore will bring upon this very soil and this very nation those same components that they have allowed to go unchecked and unnoticed abroad in the world. The exposure of the United Nations Security Council, having in the hands of the Soviet Union the veto power on any and all resolution, is something that must be pursued. To hear it on a public broadcasting system, to hear it abroad in the land through the medium that you have just heard, is a great step in the right direction. Since the formation of the United Nations, those who have been so-called liberal in their views have desired to have this fact unknown. It is also true that the war in Vietnam finally caused the demoralization that has occurred in the very psyche of the nation and of the people of light, that has made people all over the world determined never to fight again, never to have another Vietnam. And this is because of the betrayal and the conspiracy right in the very heart of the United Nations itself. Once we have exposed those areas of major concern to us at this conference, we ask that committees should be formed across the board, across the nation and the earth, working together by correspondence and meeting at our quarterly conferences to tackle these issues nation by nation. The ineffectiveness, the powerlessness of the United Nations today is based upon the built-in system of the Soviet Union's superior power in all things. Having that power, therefore, there is not a concerted effort against the force that it wields nation by nation. The United Nations has become an excuse for effective community action, no longer the voice of the people, if it ever was, and I say it was not. Therefore, the people on an international level have no voice, have no instrument, have no forum where they themselves may meet. Always there is the effective control of those who have held the reins of power and continue to hold it. Whether the bankers, whether certain scientists, whether certain representatives and committees, individuals who come forward supposedly representing the people seem to always wind up under the control of the fallen ones. Why is it so? It is because of the hideous penetration of the conspiracy at all levels, at the astral level, the mental level, the etheric level, and most importantly, in the physical octave. It is our desire to make very clear to all who are in attendance here and all who will hear these recordings of our word that the warfare is, that you are in the midst of it, that it is more deadly than you care to contemplate or to realize, that you must not be short-sighted as others are. You must plan for a future, for surely the goal that we have placed before you will take more than one lifetime to fulfill. That goal of the establishment of the community of the Holy Spirit and all that is to come to pass at the inner retreat. Therefore, not yourselves, but generations coming after you must reach the full glory and the fulfillment of the golden age. It is as though you were the pioneers of the promised land, laying the foundation. And if the foundation is not truly set, how will those who follow take part in the glorious victory? How will they have the meditation and the communion of Gautama Buddha if through the chemicals in so many various forms and manifestations have destroyed the ability of their souls to integrate in the physical octave and to gain the victory? Beloved ones, under our office of the second ray, you must realize there are many, many concerns of the misuse of the mind of God and the attempt to distort that mind in the people of earth, whether through genetic engineering, whether through manipulation, through psychotronics, whether through the drug culture, whether through all forms of misuse of the sacred fire, the onslaught is upon the mind of the people of the world. And that mind, such a fine-tuned instrument that can, on contact and immediately, be aware of God through Elohim, is drawn to lower levels of carnality and greed, self-indulgence, or mere intellectual chicanery, which we state as such because it is the most confining antichrist pursuit when it is based solely upon empirical evidence and a certain narrow and dry formula from which Francis Bacon attempted to liberate the West and the race. My beloved hearts, when you experience the loss of memory or the loss of facility of the mind for no apparent reason, you must look to many causes. One is the environment and the deadly toxins already present in the air, the earth, and the water. Another is the psychotronic manipulation. Another becomes the presence of spaceships that are present and have been present with Earth for eons, and that come with no good design, but rather the subjugation of the race. You must look, yes, to human hatred and the practice of witchcraft and black magic. You must look to the food that you eat. You must look to the entire conspiracy in all levels. You must realize that you were given, God-given, a mind that can integrate with cosmos and take dominion over the earth. That so many people upon the planetary body capitulate to the oppressor without barely a whimper or an argument must tell you that that mind is not functioning in the original goddess state of the higher mental body of the Christ self. To demand to know why and to go after those reasons is paramount. Blessed hearts, you do not want to see those of this community, or any people for that matter, reach the ages of maturity, the years of the ripened consciousness, and become feeble and vegetate and not have the faculties of pure reason and decision making. You do not want to see it happen, and yet institutions for the aged throughout this nation, if visited by you, would reveal that many are incapacitated mentally when they otherwise might be contributing a sound and superior voice for peace and for victory. Just in those years and hours when life streams come to a point of maturity and wisdom, experiencing the historical stream, it seems as though the brain itself wears out. And yet I tell you that brain has the capacity to continue in perfect functioning order for 800 years and more. There is nothing within it that should go awry except that which has been added to the environment and that which is projected daily, that the people of light upon this earth will not finally and ultimately rise up and take dominion over the Nephilim hordes. Beloved hearts, there has never been a greater hope in our hearts or a greater sense that it is possible for a complete and ultimate and final exposure of these fallen ones. Because of your early learning of the facts concerning this conspiracy, while you are young, while you are even children, there remain in your lifetime decades with which to pursue the exposure to all other people in this land and the nations of the earth. Thus, you may be gratified that through the messengers and the teachings of the ascended masters, you are far, far ahead of that point where you found yourself at the close of your previous incarnation, many of you the victims of the conspiracy, with no idea whatsoever what transpired to bring about your demise. Now that you have the facts and figures at hand, it behooves you to realize that many will listen, many will believe, and many will hear. Therefore, in the matter of stumping, we deliver to you the will of the Lord Krishna, the Lord Vishnu. Beloved ones, the cosmic Christ, the point of the Son of God on the second ray, desires to see you become experts on certain secular subjects that are a matter of obvious human rights and human dignity, such as those that have been called to the attention of the entire world through the recent episode in Poland. Therefore, in addition to knowing the stumping message that brings to the people of the planetary body the teachings of the ascended masters, you yourself, from the private sector, independent of church affiliation, must understand that it is important that you lecture abroad on specific subjects in which you become absolutely qualified, with information, with slides, with films, with the presentation that gives unmistakable evidence and proof in that area where you have the greatest concern. Beloved hearts, if citizens of America, and especially parents who have lost their children or loved ones at the hands of drunk drivers, could form an organization and persist and move upon the legislatures and the laws to do something about this horrendous condition of the loss of life through total irresponsibility, through inebriation, surely the people of God, endowed with a Holy Spirit, endowed with a superior light, not motivated merely by human anger, but charged with the divine wrath of the Almighty, ought to be able to go forth in an organized manner to move in those areas that require demonstration of proof and of witness, of courage and of inestimable love. I charge you then, as we have dealt with this recommendation in part in the past, that you never neglect, first and foremost, the loyalty to the community and the building of that community in the place that we have dedicated, that you do not neglect your lawful service in the science of the spoken word, but that you are divers on the high diving board, and that jumping on that board is the exercise of the sword in the science of the spoken word. Having completed your round of dynamic decrees, there is then the springing into action and the diving into the astral plane, there to go about the determined exposure of facts and figures that must be brought to the attention of the people. Blessed hearts, it would be well that you understand not to dissipate, but to organize on certain and specific issues, and to give them wide attention and support, and to organize across the communities and through the community teaching centers of the world. Let us not bite off more than we can chew. Let us realistically assess what we are willing to do as keepers of the flame. Many of you have seen the cause of pro-life, made it your own, gone forth to lecture, contacted dedicated hearts, given your dynamic decrees, and you can see that there have been results. Others have taken your stand to defeat the Equal Rights Amendment, understanding that the true rights of man and woman and child are thoroughly guaranteed in the United States Constitution, and realizing that the forces behind that amendment have not been those who championed the woman clothed with the sun, but who in reality rebel against the divinity of both woman and man, and therefore to champion universally the rights of all does not preclude the correct interpretation and application of the Constitution. By right reason, motive, and cause, through right channels, all justice may be brought about. On the other hand, when there is such a rash of murder, assassination, and astral hordes seeking to break through into this octave, you realize that no amount of organizing or demonstrating or proof can change the situation until the essential ingredient of the science of the spoken word is adhered to with diligence in all scientific application by the keepers of the flame. Once and for all, let us see practicality and not a vaunting of the self or a presentation of the teachings where they ought not to be presented. Let each one consider himself a pilgrim of God. In the olden days when avatars were sent and their disciples, and they became a part of the communities of the nations, it was forbidden to reveal one's identity or the teachings of the adepts. Nevertheless, the representatives of the secret societies of the earth went into the communities and championed the cause of the underprivileged and those who mourned at the loss of loved ones at the hand of the oppressor. Blessed hearts, silence is golden. To know, to dare, and to do, and to be silent has always been the motto of the keepers of the flame. Thus there is a time in a situation when it is an obvious presentation of the teachings to take your stand for the teachings and for the messenger and for the entire movement, especially when it is under attack. And there are other times when you must enter in and perform the service of guardian angels, of brothers and sisters of light, of compassionate hearts and ears, lending a hand and listening to the sorrows of the people while doing your inner work and not burdening them with a complicated theology while they can only deal with the suffering of the moment. Beloved Kuan Yin has called, beloved Mother Mary has called, and therefore I explain and make more explicit how you can be that much more effective in bringing about change through the drawing of the attention of the world itself to these conditions. We have not forsaken the faculty or the students of Montessori International, and we are determined that through your determination and the help of those who have graduated and all who will assemble on the scene to lend their hand to this cause, that through the dramatic presentation many of these issues can be brought home as in no other way. This has been so true of the presentation on the gift of life in a soul that's free. I cannot even tell you how many souls have been born and come to the light of day in physical bodies because the mother or the father saw that particular film and made the decision to have that offspring. Blessed ones, that makes the students of Montessori International and all who have supported them, guided them, assisted them, and provided the facilities for the production, angels of deliverance, good Samaritans, trusted hearts of light. Many have not been effective in the pro-life movement because of fanaticism and hatred, because of a sense of competition, because of a chip on the shoulder or an egocentricity, because of speaking down to those who are their brothers, to whom they ought to speak with respect and understanding. Blessed hearts, there are many serpents in America in the pro-abortion movement. I would shed illumination on this. Some of these individuals were actually connected with the seed of Herod and the entire family of Herod that has been spread abroad across the face of the earth. They have been the murderers of Christ in every incarnation, yet they are the respected citizens of this and other cities of the world. They are the ones to whom the people look to understand how to decide their private lives. You cannot even imagine how the people respect the fallen ones because of their proud tongues, because of their officiousness, because of their seeming erudition. It is amazing to realize that the greater the ignorance of the people, the less education they receive, the more they respect the fallen ones who have made themselves experienced and taken to themselves degrees out of the higher institutions of learning that they might impress the world. Entire tribes of people of God have gone down the path of self-destruction through the following of one of these fallen ones. I tell you, beloved hearts, the people know the voice of the true shepherds. They know your faces, and you have often had the experience that they would listen to you before they began to fear that you were a member of a cult. Thus, you see the understanding of wisdom to save and rescue the one who is about to drown before you burden him with the need of your identity or the identity of the source of your own power. In my aura, in this moment, you sense world travail. May you not forget this experience. It is my desire also that you sense your own potential to help, the divine potential to help the human equation. Is this not the definition of Christhood? The divinity of the Son of God entering the human condition to lead the souls back to the original estate of their own divinity. Thus, in a semblance, in an appearance of humanness, approach the people of God and all evolutions upon earth, that they might have a chance, a fighting chance to live and to be victorious is our prayer. It is the prayer of Alpha and Omega, and it is the cause for the dispensation of the clearing of the momentums that generate upon earth that force which is used by the fallen ones. Therefore, in this moment and in this hour, I, Apollo, with Lumina, release the full momentum of my being for the clearing of those grids and force fields of stultification and rigidity in the mental belt, replacing them with the fullness of the universal Christ mind. Legions and legions of light serving on the second ray from all corners of the galaxies have gathered in this hour for the clearing of the planetary body of those grids and force fields which have presented what is called that animal magnetism, not allowing the good people of the earth to come to grips with the issues or to penetrate the problem. We unclog the pores of the earth that the diamond shining mind of God might penetrate through, that the people of goodwill might take action and take a stand. We even move to remove the covering on the brains caused by the simple element of nicotine itself. We move then to remove the traces of alcohol and the focus of the addiction to it that is caused by the entities that are abroad across the face of the earth. We move then to remove the deadly appearance of the side effects of marijuana in the people of the entire world, causing them to become more and more passive and less resistive to that which is encroaching upon the human identity and the divine identity upon earth. O children of the sun worldwide, I instill in you the tingling of the light of illumination, the tingling of the spine, the action of the Kundalini fire, that you might feel, as it were, the starching of your being, rising to new heights of perception and God determination. Realize then how your lives are lived, how it is seen to by the Nephilim that you have become the slaves of an economic system, that all of your days are engaged in pursuing a living, and that when you come to the end of the work day and the work week, there is only the tending of the fatigue of the body and a seeking of surcease in some form of pleasure. As you look in the days and weeks and months and years of your life, and you realize the suffering of humanity over hundreds of thousands of years, and you ask yourself, why, how could I be so surfeited in the weight and burden of the world that I could not reach out and help those in trouble? Realize it is because of the entire momentum of world karma, the burden of the earth, and therefore we come for deliverance. We come for the turning of the worlds, and I tell you the worlds will turn, as the pinwheels turn, as the windmills turn, as the propellers turn. They will turn when the debris between their manifestation is removed. Beloved ones, when the space between the arms of the whirling electron, the whirling atom, is cleared by the sacred fire of the Holy Spirit, of that molasses-like substance of human density, sloth and fatigue vibration, you will see the leaping and the bounding of the children of the light. You will see a mass movement going forth. Therefore I commend you to the very heart of Mother Mary for the correction of those indulgent dietary habits that cause you to be weighted down and to become toxic and therefore ineffective day by day. O children of the sun, awake, for your lifetime is indeed sufficient opportunity to tackle these problems. It may have not been so in the past, but it is true in this hour. Why? I will tell you why. Because it is by the presence of the Great White Brotherhood, the Ascended Masters, and the Elohim, standing with you and behind you, bearing the cross with you and infusing you with the light and the presence of our momentum and our authority. It is for this reason that you can conquer, for it is our momentum of light that we will give you, and therefore there will be the overcoming of the momentum of darkness, which cannot otherwise be met by a single individual on earth, no matter how selfless, well-intended, dedicated, or even determined to pursue martyrdom itself for the sake of the victory. It takes more even than martyrdom, beloved ones, to arrive at this victory. It takes the community of the Great White Brotherhood worldwide. It takes the oneness of the saints. It takes the oneness of the Holy Family. It takes the oneness of brothers and sisters under God, moving together, determined, absolutely God determined, to rescue souls of light. Oh, beloved hearts, it can be done, and this is why we have come. This is why we have called this conference, that there might yet be other conferences and other deliveries of the Word. For without our presence in this hour, I tell you that even the very dispensation of the community was at stake. And therefore, before you have apprehended, before you have called, before you have perceived the need, Alpha and Omega have answered. They have answered in faithfulness to the faithful and the true, who are the disciples of Lord Maitreya. Beloved hearts, we act in our capacity in proportion as you have acted. If you have given your life, your love, to the uttermost, in totality, night and day, we have said, at our level and on our scale, we will do no less. And therefore at our level it means a planetary effort and a planetary victory. I commend you to the heart of victory, and I say, look to the Elohim of God, look to Cyclopea, look to the all-seeing eye, and direct it specifically into the further conclusive and abundant evidence on this yellow rain and all other forms of chemical warfare. Beloved ones, inasmuch as there are representatives here from the European nations, surely you must understand and realize that a land war contemplated by the Soviet Union in Europe includes every manner of chemical warfare. Some of you today have recently arrived from cities directly in line for this form of attack. Should it be considered by the Soviet Union a propitious time to subdue Europe and to subjugate her people? Believe them not when they speak of peaceful coexistence or independent communist parties in the other nations. Believe them not when they bargain for your souls and say, deliver the weapons, put away your weapons, pursue a path of peace, and we will do the same. They are ruthless and cunning. They are serpents. They are interplanetary beings and forces that have taken on human bodies to resemble the children of the light. Some of them are so grotesque in appearance that it is a wonder that anyone upon earth would give them credibility. It is the force, the accumulated force behind them, and the constant feeding of that force by the tentacles that stretch all the way from the astral plane to the capitalists of the West, those residing even here in Southern California, all the way to the UFOs that keep their tabs on what is happening in the uprising of the people on earth. Blessed ones, in the name of the I am that I am, and solely by that name, you can overcome, you shall overcome, if you will it so, if you will organize, if you will be one-pointed and concerted in your dedication. Let us become more and more astute and more mature. Let us throw open wide the temple doors, and let us go forth for the rescue of souls. This is our New Year message. This is our clearing action, and the legions of light have completed a certain clearing and binding and rendering ineffective of hordes of night, as well as the accumulated grids of force fields in opposition to the second ray and the incarnation of the Word. May it stay, may it hold, may it accelerate, because children of the sun rise to fill in the vacuum with the fullness of wisdom's flame. By the full power of our presence, we make known in this hour to every light bearer upon earth the way and the means to the implementation of the proclamation of freedom brought by the doves of Sanat Kumara to the light bearers of the earth, to all upon this planetary body who deserve it. Therefore, the means to implement the word is at hand. May you forge your victory by a determined study of every available approach to the problems at hand. We stand for the victory of Taiwan and all people of light on mainland China. We carry illumination's flame that has been enshrined there for eons, and we roll back and consume the lies of the communist forces and the treachery and intrigue of the saboteurs of the people of God. We place the certain action of our presence and our causal body in China, and we are determined to see the turning of that world by elemental life, by angelic hosts, by dynamic decree, and by attention on your part to the needs of the hour in Taiwan. Look around you, behold the need, and supply it. Blessed are ye who see your brother's need and recognize your Christhood, and therefore move with a giant step of Elohim to fulfill it. Amen in the name of Christ and Buddha. Amen in the name of our very own.
Elohim. Central sun, our souls desire, our plan of love here to defend. Elohim of sacred fire, 7 hearts and 7 hearts again. Blessed 7 spirits of old, now come to earth from realms on high. Make the souls of light now bold, God victory their battle cry. Let their voice be heard, 7 thunders of the word, for the turning of the world and the golden age unfurled. O Elohim, to our strong eye, come bless our earth, the sea and sky. Awake the world from its long night, help us ascend by God's great light. O morning stars that sang together, bring to earth God's greatest treasure, purest love without alloy. O sons of God, now shout for joy. Elohim, Elohim, Elohim. Down to earth in fire descending, lo the Elohim we hail. Grace of God to all supplying, where the human senses fail. Planets in their stations standing, angel dancing all their work. See the light of earth expanding, as to Christ it gives rebirth. Let their voice be heard, 7 thunders of the word, for the turning of the world and the golden age unfurled. O Elohim, to our strong eye, come bless our earth, the sea and sky. Awake the world from its long night, help us ascend by God's great light. O morning stars that sang together, bring to earth God's greatest treasure, purest love without alloy. O sons of God, now shout for joy. Elohim, Elohim, Elohim. Let their voice be heard, 7 wonders of the word, for the turning of the world